All right, what's going on, everybody? We are back for. By the time this drop, I'm gonna come up with a name for it. I don't know if I want to call this. Well, first of all, if y'all remember, I hinted at this. I said that we was gonna do the QLC. We was bringing that back for the end of the season because y'all, we literally this episode and then next week is the last two episodes of season 6. I'm gonna tell you now, in more ways than one, 2023 is gonna be a monumental year. And monumental in a good way, not like the apocalypse gonna come, but it's gonna be a great year. And I'm marking my words, and it is what December 15th, 10 more days before Christmas. Mark my words, it's going up. But by the time this drops, I'll have an idea of, do I want to call this like the bonus tracks? Do I want to call this the lost files? Do I want to call this? We know it's QLC Deluxe because we actually are bringing back QLC Quarter Life Crisis, which was for those who are in that in between age and you're struggling. This episode is kind of help with that in a different way. Obviously, the title comes out on the day of the episode, but basically, the title is centering around, choosing not to be boxed in and allowing yourself to live your life, do what you think is best, do what you're called to do, not based off of what nobody tells you. We get kind of like cornered because of that. So before I get too far, let's get into this week's meme. So the meme reads, hold on, y'all. The meme ain't memeing. I'm finna put it up. Hold on, it's glitching. I don't know. This ain't never happened before. Let's see. All right, there we go. The new adults just don't settle for one job anymore. We have several jobs and several ways to make money. We aren't slaves to jobs with benefits anymore. All right. Inspiration. So the inspiration from this week comes from Rome Flynn, famous actor, I think singer and rapper. He's on a bunch of different stuff, but he was on Mando and Friends podcast, and I'm gonna go over something he had said that stood out and actually was part of the inspiration for this episode. The Disney Channel song that was like, I'm trying to break out this box you're trying to keep me in. I can't remember who sang. No, I do know. I think it was Cheetah Girls. I think that's who it was. A quote by Jillian Harvey. It says, "People will try to box you in, and I don't see myself in any particular box. There's no way I will be able to make the music I make without dancing. Personally, I don't know who Jillian Harvey is, but I saw this quote and I really was like, I wrote it down. So Jillian Harvey, if you see this, please don't take offense, but I don't know you. And then obviously inspiration is the return of QLC, which is known as Quarter Life Crisis. We are here again for the deluxe. All right. When I hear deluxe, I instantly think of the Chick-fil-A sandwich. And y'all know which one I'm talking about. The one with like the bacon and the lettuce and all that and the cheese. Because the regular one just come with like the sandwich. And then the deluxe had the cheese and the bacon. Now, all right, so I saw that they said Merriam and Webster said that the word of the year was gaslighting. So for those that don't know what gaslighting is, it says gaslighting is to manipulate someone by psychological means and to questioning their own sanity. Now, that's a funny word because you notice you hear it a lot. I think the last 2 years you hear it on like TV shows, you hear it on Instagram, you hear it all on social media, you hear it on political, you hear it on political like campaigns and those kind of things. It didn't became like that word. And I think that's funny because people been doing it, they just never knew the term for it. And have I been gaslit before? Yeah. Have I gaslighted somebody? More than likely. I'm honest. If you ask me, I think the word of the year should have been, the phrase of the year should have been "be for real." Like, be for real. For real. Because that's been me the whole year because I've been saying stuff like, this is not real. I tell people all the time, whenever I do some wild or say something crazy, I always tell them that was a figment of their imagination and that never happened. Some people don't let me forget it. Others play along. So for those that play along, I appreciate that. Also, when we talking about Rome Flynn again, so I'm bringing that back up. So He was talking about how people in our culture, and he's mixed, but but still the black and brown culture. He says like their white counterparts are like if they do music, they do acting, they just an example, doing NASCAR race and they doing sports, they doing all these different things. It's okay, but it's like when our people do it, it looks like what you doing, why you doing all that. And he talked about how people are trying to say like to him, like, oh, you need to stick to one thing. And I feel like it's great to have multiple talents. With that, I will say, and I'm going to talk about it a little later on, when you have multiple talents, that's great. And you know that it is good. But what you have to understand is you have to master one thing before trying to master another, as far as trying to profit off one thing. So many people I see these days, they're good at different things. Because I'm not no hater. I ain't no hater nigga. I tell the truth. They good at multiple things, but the issue is they trying to like do this, and this. It's like kill this first, then go over there. Some people don't want to hear that. But then I ask you this, and it may be a little bit of a sting. Are you making money from all those things you're doing at once? Probably not. So that's why now I'm not knocking you for doing multiple things because I can do multiple things, but just making sure that you at least, getting at your feet wet as far as one thing to where you can, instead of saying, okay, at least I'm good in this, now let me go over here, versus trying to be like, I'm okay in everything. Because who's going to take you seriously? I'm not. And I know a lot of people wouldn't. The other week, I know y'all heard about Balenciaga. Now, am I surprised? No. I'm glad I ain't getting no Balenciaga sweater because I wanted one. I did, but I can't wear one now because that's wild. Even though I'm not surprised, and a lot of this stuff is really, common knowledge. You really just have to research it. But I didn't know that. But when I found it out, like I said, I'm just glad I didn't get no runners, and I'm glad I didn't get no what's it called? No sweater because I want to get one. But there's other stuff I can get. So, but for those that don't know, because for people probably don't know what happened. So basically, they got exposed for being pedophiles. That's the short version. And BDSM with kids, and somebody had said, with all these kids missing, where are they at? I'm like, they in them campaigns. And I ain't even trying to be funny. I'm for real. Like, they in them campaigns. They being used. And the one lady who's over it, I can't remember her name, but she's over. She has pictures of kids in like little kid rooms with blood all over the place and teddy bears violating each other. And what's something else? It was some wild stuff. I mean, nothing surprises me. But I know some people who's really like upset at Balenciaga, but I'm like, you should have known that. They say Gucci ain't no better. I don't have no proof of Gucci right now, so I'm not gonna get on Gucci. I don't have no Gucci either. So if they come out, it is what it is. But I ain't got no Gucci just quite yet. So and if they come out on that too, then I might have to leave them alone. All right, y'all been rambling enough. Okay, so I got to introduce my guest. This person had me on his podcast, him and his friends' podcast. What was it? It was like April, Mayish of 2021. And we've been talking about doing this for a while now. And you know me, I ain't a liar. So if I say I got you, I got you. So I got to go ahead and put my boy on. So tell the people what's your name, where you from, and where you live. Muted.
My bad, I had it on mute. What's going on, people? What's going on, people? My name is AmRock, filmmaker, writer, right here in Baltimore, Maryland. Rep the DMV, Jersey, Richmond. Shout out to all my people there. And I'm sorry, Izzy. What was the last question? What was the last?
Oh, I just said where do you live, and you said it. So
okay, I got you. All right, cool. But yeah, hey, thanks for having me, man. Yes, I definitely appreciate this opportunity, and I'm ready.
All right, so now tell the people, you said it a little bit, but I want you to go a little more in depth if you can. What do you do for a living?
So, I still have a regular 9 to 5 where I'm in security management. But my passion my, what gets me up in the morning to do what I have to do to hopefully be able to do what, I love to do is filmmaking, and writing, whether it's poetry, short stories, essays, actually, me and my boy, I know you mentioned during the intro, shout out to Chief. We was doing a HL magazine about a year or so ago. So just writing and creating is just very important in telling Black stories, Black stories from a perspective of realism, is exciting. So yeah, man, that's the passion, and that's where I'm going.
All right. So now, and I know the answer, so I know it's going to be a quick yes, but do you consider yourself a man of many hats?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So now I'm going to ask you a few phrases and words, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. You ready?
Okay, sounds good.
So when you hear the phrase boxed in, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Trying to break out.
Okay. When you hear the word gaslight, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Manipulation.
And when you hear the word benefits, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Impactful. Oh, well, I'll say that necessary. They're necessary.
All right. So when I went ahead and got the definition of boxed in, it says unable to physically move from a certain spot due to being blocked by something. Gaslight, it says manipulate someone by psychological means and questioning their own sanity.
Mm.
And then benefits, a payment or gift made by an employer, the state, or an insurance company. So now, before we get too far in it, have you ever felt boxed in before?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
You want an example?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
definitely, I think we've all, if you had any type of employment, you felt boxed in with work, right? Because I mean, it's always easy to say, well, if you don't like something, if you don't like your job, go ahead and quit. But still, we live in a world where there's bills, and in America, in an economy where you have to pay bills, where you have to try to attempt to take care of yourself if that's what you choose to do. So just to
Right.
tell people just to quit their job, that's tough. So I know a lot of people out there feel boxed in because of that. I've felt that pressure, um, not being able to excel within the career path that you're in, primarily because, well, I won't say primarily. Um, it's mainly because potentially of the color of your skin, because they feel like, hey, why do we want this Black man to excel and get an opportunity when they know he's good enough, if not better, than his contemporaries, right? So
Right.
we all can feel boxed in that way, and I felt that, I felt boxed in that way. In relationships, I felt boxed in. Um, I discussed with you, Izzy, about the fact that I'm divorced, um, and no disrespect or anything to my ex or nothing like that, but you know that can, when it's not going well, it can have you feeling boxed in and have you feeling trapped, and your only way to even sometimes just simply think, you have to
Right.
remove yourself from that situation. So anybody's
Right.
been through those type of situations, they can relate.
And so, okay, so we got a few things. You got divorce, you feel trapped at your job. Do you, and this was, I didn't even expect to ask this, so this is just kind of spot on. Has either of those things added to your creativity?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I'm currently, something that I'm working on is inspired by work, and what I've gone through in past relationships, or just with not just being married, within family dynamics as well, or friendships, has definitely inspired me to do a podcast, or do a magazine, or write about this or write about that, right, or film a short, documentary style film, right? I mean, those things all those type of relationships and life experiences have inspired me that way. So yeah, absolutely.
So tell us how your podcast, because I know you have more than one. So how did they come about?
Yeah, so HL podcast that started in January 2018. It was just at that time it was moving. Podcasts were moving, so I really just felt like, hey, there's something to be said, and while creating an environment where I like to smoke hookah. And so, creating an environment where, you can just, it feels like you can be at a hookah lounge, chilling and having a conversation. Chief came aboard. We were actually pretty good friends in high school, didn't see each other for a long time, reconnected. And, I asked him, hey, this is what I'm doing. I really just started. I had like 4 episodes, really just getting it started. Well, why don't you join? His background is primarily, like graphic design, editing, different things like that. He also has, a very strong religious belief and stands on good morals. So I was like, yo, let's do this. Let's make this happen. And it just took off from there. And currently right now, we're on a break. Chief is, dealing with family and life, and, same thing for me. But, it still hasn't gone away. We're just on a break right now. We're politicking. That's not my podcast. So shout out to politicking out there in LA. Shout out to Calum and Yajikete and Ronnie and the mayor. Those guys are great. That's actually Calum's podcast with politicking broadcasting. And I recently just joined, and it's been a great experience. Having 5 brothers panel style talking about different issues, whether it's sports, politics, relationships, what's going on in entertainment, what's going on in film, what's going on in music. That's what we need more of. We need to start seeing more of that. And we are, we're getting to that point. But there needs to be more, and there needs to be more on platforms, bigger than just, like there, we need to be, we can be expanded. We have a lot to say. People that are on the ground level, right? I think of podcasting as like, there's underground and there's mainstream, like music. And people, quote unquote, on the underground or have that aesthetic like underground does. We have something to say too, because we're out here on the ground level dealing with life daily. Because you get a lot of podcasts where celebrities are, they live a different life. They live a different lifestyle and they have different perspectives. And I get that. And they've all come from a place that we've been to as well, but we're still here. And so you can tell both sides of what's going on. And I think that podcast does that.
Okay. So now let's move into, what does this have to do with mental health? So obviously we know this is a time to just correlate the topic to that as far as being boxed in. But before we get into that, you kind of led into this segment without even trying. So you said already how like you want things to be more represented on the different and a higher platform and on a bigger platform. As far as you talked about politics and what you said, 5 black brothers. For those that don't know what brothers meant, they ain't related, but I know what you mean. Why is it important to you to be an advocate for black men and for boys' mental health?
Because I was a black boy and I am a black man, and I've dealt, and I've had situations happen to me where my mental health, was really affected, whether that was as a boy or as a man. And I know there are millions of other black boys and black men going through, similar things. And for black boys and men, we don't speak up. Plain and simple. We don't speak up. We don't come out and say, hey, are you okay? Are you all right? You did that with me. You reached out. Hey, yo, bro, are you okay? Are you a simple question, right? We don't do that enough. And who knows what that person is going through? Maybe they do just want to spill their heart out and say, yo, no, I'm not okay. X, Y, and Z is going down. I just lost my job. I just got divorced. My kid is constantly in trouble. I'm struggling with trying to create an idea. I'm struggling with money. I might lose my house. Whatever the case may be. I just lost a parent. We're all dealing with something, and especially our Black boys. You know, a lot of them, unfortunately, like myself, didn't grow up with a father in the household. I was lucky to find good father figures. Like my brother Bobby, his father, may he rest in peace. Was a great influence in my life as a Black teenager coming up. But a lot of Black boys don't have that, and so it's just important to let them know that we hear you, we're here as Black men, because we've been there too, and I think it's important for us to stand up and support Black boys in that manner, and tell them that it's okay to speak up and to say that you're not okay if you're not okay. And I think that's very important for Black men too.
Okay. So, do you feel as though, as a Black man, obviously, do you feel as though sometimes emotionally you're boxed in, or like you have to keep how you feel in, and not just as a boy, like as a grown man, still, do you feel that way?
Yeah. Um, Especially, for those who are still working a 9 to 5 job, who, are still trying to get to their passion. You deal with that on a regular. I recently dealt with that earlier this year, in a situation where, a contemporary was promoted into a position that I may have been interested in others, but was simply just promoted into that position. There was no process of interview. There was no putting that job requisition out there so that everybody could apply, right? These are the things that we deal with in work politics, excuse me.
Was it an Anglo-Saxon?
Right. These are the things that we deal with. And inside, man, we're like, we're just, we're hot, we're heated when we see these things go down. But we have to remember, you know, soon as we do something or say something within that environment, now you're the angry Black employee. Now people are all of a sudden calling you out the blue, asking, are you okay, or what's going on, or I see how you're feeling about this or that, right? We deal with those things, and um sometimes you question, like, yeah, is it worth it really saying something? Sometimes, yeah, absolutely. And if you're asked, yes, you should speak up and say something. But sometimes, yeah, we just, we might feel like, it's not really necessary. And I've definitely felt that way, and I'm sure many other Black people have felt that way, dealing with work politics, as they call it. But yeah, that definitely affects you mentally, and definitely can make you feel a little boxed in, and not being able to truly express yourself because of wanting to save face.
So, from an article by Liz Ryan on LinkedIn, it's titled "Stop Letting People Box You In." It says the most important mental shift you can make as you get altitude on your life and career is to stop thinking in terms of categories and boxes, especially as they apply to you. The spaces between categories and boxes are much more interesting than anything inside the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
People will box you in if you let them. At work, there's almost always someone ready to tell you what you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you grow your flame, the person feels bad about him or herself by comparison. It then said, here's the bitter truth about personal growth. When you are growing, people around you will think, heck, if he or she can do it, then I can do it too. It says if they are not ready to step, they may try to talk you out of aspirations or minimize your triumphs. It said that's why personal growth is hard. If everyone around you were cheering you on as you take control of your life and career to make changes that will help you move along the path, then it will be easy to take those steps. Not everyone wants to see you grow. Where do you see your current projects in the next year? So that's my question to you. So before we get into the where do you see your current projects in the next year, let me say this. When it comes to categories and boxes, I'm learning with me personally, I don't really fit in any box. I tell people all the time, like I was too much for each group, whether it's been the athletes, whether it's been the artists, whether it's been the hood kids, whether it's been the white kids. I never really was able to fit in any group. And typically people like that are meant to stand out. It click. Some of them it clicked early. For me, it did.
Right.
So I couldn't have been boxed in if I didn't want if I even if I wanted to. Now, you can go, everybody, let's be honest, everybody that's listening to this is not necessarily an extraordinary person. And that's okay. Everybody, I don't know why I thought about James and the Giant Peach. I don't know why. Everybody ain't an extraordinary person.
That's a classic right there. That's a classic.
but, but the point that I'm making is people can try to box you in. And one of the phrases I hear a lot is people, even when you venting to people or telling them what you can do, if they don't say like a slick comment, they might just get real quiet. And we all know what that quiet means. It means it's like, oh, like you just talking, or you can't do that, or that ain't for you, or maybe that's for somebody else.
Right.
Have you ever been around somebody and vented to them about something you was interested or passionate in, and they did that awkward silence?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't say all the time, but yeah, that's definitely happened. That's why it's best to just sometimes keep your dreams and your aspirations or your interests or your thoughts to yourself, because it's not because nobody's telling anybody to be silent. It's just sometimes, like you said, not everybody's going to get you, and not everybody's going to understand. So especially as you get older, you realize it's better to just be silent and observe and see what's going on, and then formulate your opinion. But you don't always have to express your opinion or how you're feeling about certain things. You don't have to always give everyone how much intelligence you're working with. And sometimes it's good not to speak, because then there's a lot of ignorant people out here who just love to hear the sound of their own voice, and then they're just spewing whatever, right? But yeah, you don't always have to give out every part of you, or like I said, or your thoughts, or what how you feel about red or blue, or pro-life or against life, or whatever the case may be, Kanye or not, Trump. You don't always have to express that. You could keep a little bit to yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you see your current projects in the next year?
So right now, like I said, I'm writing something very special right now, and I definitely want to finish that over the next year. It's a screenplay that I'm working on. I am, currently attending NYU, as far as online, to learn more about film and TV as well. My brain is, I'm so like film history, and just learning about actors in their background or actresses in their background, films, what won Best Picture in 1980 or this or that. I'm just that movie buff type of guy. And so why not just, continue to try to learn more about your craft? So I said, all right, well, yeah, I'm gonna go back to school and learn more. Still constantly filming, whether it's podcasts, whether it's, different events, things like that, that's definitely happening in 2023. Continuing to be on politic and podcasts as well, and just keep that moving forward with those guys. But definitely just get more into finishing this screenplay. I took a little bit of a break, just having a little bit of writer's block. End of the year, holidays, your mind is, not always focused. And when I write, I like to be focused, especially a project like that. So sometimes it's good to step away, live life, see things, learn this, go through this situation real quick. Then you can come back and say, okay, yeah, I got it. I could fill in this blank, I could fill in this hole. So, and then definitely a short film is coming as well. I got a couple of projects, so I don't want to put too much out there, but people could definitely check it out. Blackwords creators, definitely, revamp the page a little bit, putting out more writing posts out there. So soon, um, there'll be some clips coming out very soon in 2023.
Okay. 2023, I keep telling y'all, it's going to be the year of the writer. Mark my words with that. Now, real quick question. How old are you?
Oh gosh, we going there. I'm 32.
I'm doing it for a reason. How old?
32. You got me?
Okay. Yeah, and I got you now. Yeah. Now, okay. So the point that I'm making is, y'all, if in that regards, because some people say 32 is old. I don't think 32 is old. I think technically, I would say, and hear me out before I finish, because somebody gonna get mad. I would say 40 is old, but 40 really ain't, because it's almost like when you turn 40, it's like you get a new life or something to start. I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to explain, but maybe it's just for black people. But anyway,
No,
but
I was just gonna say real quick,
yeah,
age is, and old. It's just a state of mind, man. Like anybody's ever told you, you sound mature for your age, or this is, it's, I mean, it's how you feeling. God bless my mom. She's in, I don't put her age out there. She's up there, and she still feels like, she's 30 years younger. So, that's just, you know, state of mind.
the point, I mean, well, clearly you don't look 32, we know that. But the
For
point that I'm making is, when he talking about going back to school to learn his craft or doing all the what he's doing, he's not giving up on his dreams. And a lot of times I think the world tries to, the world is different now. I will say that they are a little better with that.
Okay.
Society in general. But at one point it was just like, oh, you too old to be doing that. You didn't miss the train. But
All right.
we in the Christmas season. The Polar Express come all the time. So you miss that stop, but you can get on the next one. So I just want people to realize that, like, if you feel like, because I know a lot of time when I felt like 25, when I turned 25, I was like, bro, I'm like finna get in the casket. That's how I felt. But now it's just like, it's just crazy. But
I got you.
according to How to Break Out the Box that people try to stick you in, it's an article on Psychology Today. It
Okay.
says that a powerful theme of how we show up is the value of forsaking the expected life paths if they are not the ones that work the best for us. What Burdong says about this more generally nicely captures what some people who are single have Hart told me about their experiences. So often we believe that following the traditions we know is an easy path because there are fewer decisions to make and there's less friction with other people's expectations and society's rules of acceptance. So many of us end up in relationships, locations, jobs, routines because it was the only option we saw. We're afraid of not doing the right thing. But there's no ease here. The dissatisfaction, depression, and sense of loss people feel in spaces or norms that don't work for them can be devastating. And it says, and when we don't see or encounter other possibilities, it can take such a long time for us to figure out that we want something else. So it's a lot to unpack there, but the moral of the story is a lot of us get caught up in tradition, and that's what we was saying. What he was, I was asking him them questions, and then aligning it with this. Like, you don't have to follow tradition where he's going back to school at 32 to get his filmmaking stuff. Somebody might have said you should did that at 18. Maybe at 18, he didn't fully know it was possible. Maybe he didn't know if that's what he wanted to do at 18, 19 years old. And, things can be out of order. Sometimes things are better out of order. You're not going to have it all together at a certain age. It then says, what I like right here, it says that many people told me that discarding the picture they had of how their lives would be, sometimes joyfully, sometimes through grieving, was necessary in order to fully embrace something better or at least something different. And I think that's the main thing, that it's okay to do something different than what your family has done. Great example. I remember I was going to college, and I'm from St. Louis for those that don't know. And I was going up to school, HBCU, Texas Southern, in Houston. And I remember my grandma, she was so nervous about it. She was just like, well, yeah, such a big city, and you from St. Louis, this all you know, and da da da. And I was just like, I'm gonna learn.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna learn. I knew I wasn't from no small city. I'm not a small city person. Like St. Louis is like I tell people all the time, it's a small big city because it's like it's like big in its own way, but it's not a hit town or like the middle of nowhere. It's still a metropolitan area, but
Right.
it's not like Houston. Houston being the fourth biggest city in the country. So I like different. It really, if I could move again, I would. I don't know about that because I visited all the hot spots, and ain't nowhere I would move full time but New York. And even with New York, I wouldn't live there full time because it costs too much. I have a spot there, but I couldn't live there full time, and I need my car. So, tell us about a time you did something different than the norm, and you dealt with resistance.
Mm, mm. That's a great one. I would say, hmm, I would say letting. I won't say it was met with resistance, um, but with our people, it's always, for the most part, they believe it until they see it, and so expressing that I want to do film and I want to get into it, like especially somebody like my mom, she knew that was in me since I was young, um,
Right.
but you know other family, friends, okay, you want to do that, how you going to do it, what's the plan, this and that, and for a moment there, they were right, well, yeah, what is my plan, how do I want to get this accomplished, what do I need to do, when you mentioned earlier about me being 32 and wanting to get back into it, and maybe at 18, I didn't know, 18, 19, I was just trying to figure life out, homeless at one point, right, just, yay, where's life taking me, I need money, I need a place to stay, I need clothes, I need to make sure I'm doing the things I need to do as a man, so to speak. So yeah, you're in a different mindset, but once okay, establish certain things in your life, you get the house, you got the job, you remove things or people from your life, then you start to think again, going back to having a clear mind, you start to think. So that opens up a lot. And what it did for me was it opened up the fact that I really want to do this. This is my passion. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always been a film buff. So, why not? And yeah, sometimes that is, like I said, it's not so much resistance or, somebody trying to shut you down. It's just, again, okay, I feel you out, but, you know, let's wait and see. Let's see what you're doing. And so, yeah, it took for me to just, um, my first, project was just going to New York and just documenting that experience, and filming that, and and
Mm-hmm.
then editing that. Um, you know, no, like me and Chief, he edited it for me. I was like, yeah, this was like low budget, and he was like, no, this was no budget. It was literally just, a film that was just put together, right? But you got to start somewhere. And then one day it just took to say, all right, yeah, you know what? Let's start. Let's start somewhere and get it rolling to where people look at it. Oh, yeah, he's really doing that. He's following through. There is no more doubt. Now people really see it and believe it.
Yeah.
And it sucks that people have to, to sometimes fully believe in you, but you sometimes have to do that for you as well. So
Well, see, this is the thing. And so again, for the person that might say, when you talk about as always, when we got to bring it back to making healthy decisions and just decision making in general. Somebody may be 25, 26 and feel like they missed the boat or that they missed the train. But, I remember it was a long time ago, and it was, for those that don't know, I know you're going to hear the name and be like, what she had to say. But Tamar Braxton, Tony Braxton's sister, and she talked about when she finally got her, started making music for real, and it was hitting, and it was like she was like in her late 30s or early 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she made the comment that she wasn't ready at 18, 19, 20 like she thought she was. She wasn't ready until now. And so sometimes it's best that you missed it then, because you might have missed the blessing because of immaturity, or maybe the blessing didn't come yet. It didn't come until this age where now you can handle it better and you can take care of it, because things spin a block.
Yep.
People, opportunities, everything.
Yep.
Somebody just spent the block with me recently. But, that's the thing. You have to keep that in mind, that when it's spin a block that you're ready this time. And typically, I'm a firm believer, God likes to give you little signs and stuff before it happens. So anybody who feels like, I missed the mark, or I'm boxed in, I feel like, I'm going to be stuck here forever. Just keep putting out whatever it is. Just keep going towards whatever it is, whether it's you applying to other jobs, or in his case, say you are doing a 9 to 5 and you feel like you deserve that promotion. Keep showing out at the job. Don't let it discourage you. Let it, because people like to see stuff like that, and they'll say, okay, well, he or she's humble, and they ain't acting stank, and they ain't doing this, and then they're gonna keep you in mind next time, because you never know. People pay attention more than we realize, and that's something I had to learn in my last job. People pay more attention than you realize.
Absolutely.
So now it's talked about same source, and it's talking about celebrating milestones. It says celebrating milestones that are not just about marriage or children. It says a few years ago in the community of single people, we discussed the kinds of milestones that single people might like to celebrate. It says Mia Birdsong thought about that too. It said here she is talking about a single woman who was a college professor who had just got her tenure in a new apartment. A few months later, she planned a 10-year housewarming party. Some older, also single women, and the importance of celebrating the milestones outside of the traditional weddings and baby showers. They explained that there are ways single child-free women get financially punished in a culture that celebrates marriage and motherhood. And in that case, again, we talked about earlier, going against the norms of the traditional, like I said, and that's not just, this being an older woman who don't have no kids, or, because he's like, oh, I should be married, I should have kids right now. Or maybe you are a full entrepreneur. I said this a few weeks ago. I was on Instagram, and this girl was like, she was talking about Thanksgiving, and she's a TikToker, and she said that, the shady family comments, they say, you still ain't got no job doing that little TikTok stuff or that social media stuff. And she said, yeah, I'm doing this little job that make more than your salary in a month. And so to old people, this not the norm. Getting money from stuff like this and from TikTok and social media, not the norm. So to somebody that's coming up that maybe eventually has gonna tap into your films, your podcasts and stuff, what would be your advice to them for them maybe being shunned or attacked by family, and they don't have the energy like us to fight it off? What would be your advice to them?
I mean, sometimes you have to just let people have the opinions that they have. They don't dictate your life, right? At the end of the day, it's still your life and what you need to do for you. So as long as I'm a firm believer in God, and just being spiritual, and talking to God, and praying. Absolutely. That's the only relationship that really matters, is what is God telling you to do, right? Like, are you praying to him? Is he dictating this? Family or friends ain't going to dictate that. Some might encourage, and some might say, yeah, that's a good job, how can I help? Some might be like, I need to wait and see. Some might be like, that's a terrible idea, go try comedy or whatever, right? So yeah, people don't, I would tell them, people don't dictate what your life is and what your life is going to be. Only you can do that. And we all have choices. I'm sure we've all heard this. We all have a choice. Somebody decided to make the wrong decision. Somebody decided to make the right decision. Somebody decided to go right. Somebody decided to go left. And we've all been there, right? But then, and sometimes you might make a mistake. Okay, that it didn't cost you your life. It didn't cost you your freedom. So what did you learn from that, right? And that's going to happen to, people out there, especially young people, right? You're going to make mistakes. But it's, what are you taking from it? What are you learning from these experiences, right? Your first film might completely flop. Nobody, might get, 5 views, right? Well, what did you learn? What did you learn about the process? Your first album might not do nothing, or your first song. Okay, well, what did you learn? What did you take away from the process? How can you get better? That's what it's about. It's about you and your personal growth and your self growth and doing what you want to do and what you love to do, not what society says is best or this or that or whatever. People are gonna comment. No matter what, people are gonna comment, whether good or bad. You have to do what's best for you, plain and simple.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the weekly sabbatical. And as we rest, as we reflect, real quick question.
Mhm.
What is a milestone you've had that isn't necessarily traditional?
That isn't necessarily traditional.
Something that you celebrated or you was happy about that most people would say like, oh, that ain't really traditional. For example, um,
Mm.
my podcast, I mean, I reached 100K views on YouTube, right?
Awesome.
Um, that's not necessarily traditional from nobody I'm around. Well,
Mm.
my immediate group. You said, well,
I said no. Congratulations on that. You got me.
so
I think it was going in and out.
yeah, it's
Okay.
good now.
Gotcha.
So then it talks about, I talked about earlier, it said the new adults, they don't settle for one stream of income. I think us new adults, we are okay with having, and not saying people haven't always been this way, but this generation is okay with not having a job with benefits because it's like, don't get it twisted. The benefits come in clutch. I have a job with benefits.
Absolutely.
You need to go to the dentist, the doctor, they got you. But if you making, my logic is if you're making quadruple what you will make on a salary, outside of that, you may have to pay a little more, but you got the bread for it.
Right.
So tell us more about Blackwords Creators and how that came about. Because I see a lot of your stuff definitely has potential. And I definitely feel like at some point it's going to be some of that high ranking stuff. So Blackwords Creators, what is that for those that don't know? How did that come about?
So this came about, almost a decade and a half or so ago, right? In high school, I started. My brother-in-law, he got me into my brother-in-law and my sister um, got me into old school hip hop at an age where like that conscientious Tribe Called Quest, Brand Nubian, um, Black Watch Movement, Far Side, Souls of Mischief, that era of hip hop, and I think X Clan put that in their album, and it just sounded funky to me, right? Blackwards, like we're not going backwards, right? It's backwards in a sense. We're moving forward with Black progress. To me, it speaks to Black progress, Black positivity. We're not resorting back to, or we're not trying to resort back to the old narratives of us being less intelligent or being less than, right? We're Black creators, um, you know, creating and telling Black stories again, that have a lot of realism to it. A simple story could be, your everyday guy, um, working at a local restaurant. That person has a life, just like you and I do. And I want to explore that and put that on bigger platforms and big screens ultimately. Um, because we all have a life. We all, like I'm sure people may have told you, you should write a book, or, or you've heard that, right? Well, yeah, maybe I should, or maybe somebody should do a film about, um, my life, because, yeah, you might think my life is ordinary, but I have, this and that going, and I've been through this and that. Everybody has a story. And I'm just curious to tell those type of stories. And, I want other Black creatives. It doesn't necessarily have to be Black creatives, but, the sole purpose is to tell those stories, and tell our stories, and put our stories out there and not have them whitewashed, or whatever, or what have you. So I'm looking for Black creatives, with that same type of passion and intensity, to tell those type of stories, to give us a look at the stories that we've had, Atlanta, the Insecures, those type of shows, the movies that we've had, the Love Joneses and the Best Mans, right? Those are intricate stories, right? Not just your typical Black pimp or Black slave, right? And even still, like movies like a 12 Years a Slave, that's an intricate story. It's an intricate story. I know a lot of people don't like the slave, people, like, oh, Will Smith doing the anthem. But again, if there's a story behind that man, that famous photo that we all know with the man with the whips along his back. There's a story behind that, right? And that's what interests Will Smith to tell, and Antoine Fuqua, the director, to tell that story. That's what I like, right? That's what gets me going. Like, there's a story behind that. Who is that? ASAP Rocky Dior, picture behind you. Like, there's stories, right? And our story should be told, man. Our story should be told and should be heard, and our voices should be heard.
I agree, and definitely as a writer myself, I posted on my story a little while ago, was talking about, there's the main character syndrome that has plagued us, and with me personally, somebody told me I had it, but let me just say this about the main character syndrome, and I said this on my Instagram, and some people liked it. Here's the thing: when you are the main character in any story, the main character pushes the plot of the story. So my thing is, these people thinking that they're the main character, are you pushing the plot of the story? If you wasn't there, would things be going on like they are? Probably not. Now, not me. I'm the plot pusher. But the point I'm saying is, like, that's when you're a writer, you want to tell a story, and you want to figure out, when you read and stuff, why did this author do this, why did this author put this in the story, why did they have this character do that, why did their character say this, why did they come then, why did they have this conflict, what is the resolution, did you add some foreshadowing, is the writer a cliffhanger writer? I like to do cliffhangers. I like to leave you wondering what's going to happen. Like, I'm the type of writer that's going to piss you off, because I want you to be like on the edge of your seat, wondering what's going to happen in the next book and the next story, because I'm leaving you with an open-ended. I want you to really wait on it. So that's just me. Everybody's not like that. But the main thing is pushing the plot and making sure that there is, to understand what is the story. And sometimes a lot of stories can be all over the place and they don't make sense. But you have to always keep a central theme going on. So when it comes down to people who try to box you in, because sometimes we try to box ourselves in, because sometimes we don't have the confidence in ourselves, and and a lot of times is I see people who have the confidence in themselves, but then sometimes the people around them may make them start to guess themselves. Do you always feel that people who do that are doing it out of anger or jealousy, or maybe it's just they just don't see you as that person?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's always out of anger or jealousy. I think sometimes it is out of a sense of love. I mean, sometimes people, uh, sometimes someone else may see something that you don't as well. You
Mm-hmm.
know, hey, I want to be a comedian, and then your mom tells you, boy, you're really not that funny.
Right.
I mean, you know, like it's, you know, well, hey, you know, am I that funny? Like, yeah, you really might want to be a comedian, but you just might not be that funny. You know, I want to be a MC. Your pop said,
Yeah.
you know, you don't really got it like that. Whether it's cadence, flow, whatever the case may be, the lyrics. You know, I really want to be an MC. I think I could be Biggie or whoever, but you know, I need to check myself and listen to what I recorded. And you know, as a comedian, you know, you want to listen to the crowd. Are people really laughing or aren't they? And then you have to be honest with yourself ultimately. And that's not to say, you know, just give up because you know a parent or somebody might have said something to you, but it's also to say that you do have to do self evaluation. So yeah, it's not always about out of jealousy or anything like that. Sometimes it is absolutely, but sometimes it is out of love and getting you to, like I said, do some self evaluation about yourself, and maybe in some cases it helps you be a hell of a lot better. You know, so you know it can be a good thing as well. It's about how you use that. It's about how you use that energy and how you channel it, really.
So before I get into the list of stuff, matter of fact, I'm gonna do this first, and then I'm gonna ask that question. So I got another article. This is the last one for the day. It says how to deal with people who try to bring you down, and this is by Cassie Lawrence. Because as you rise, as you go up, people try to box you in. People try to see you in a way, or try to tell you that that ain't for you, or you can't do that. And sometimes they, like he said, they are trying to help and tell you the truth. Because we have to flip it. Sometimes they telling the truth. You really just ain't that good in that. That really ain't you. You go up in people's
Right.
studios making a mess. Or, the jokes just ain't joking. You the joke. You know what I mean? So we have to keep that in mind too. But for the times where we are dealing with people who are a little rough and who, it may try to alter us. So you may be like, why are they hating on me? Or why are they doing this like that? It says some of them have a rough childhood. It says, as we all know, our childhood shapes a lot of who we are. Sometimes when people have less than loving childhoods, verbal, emotional abuse is natural for them to do to others how it was done to them. It says things does not make it right. It says the best thing we can do is try to build up what has been torn down in them. Sometimes they have low self-esteem. It says sometimes those low self-esteem will try to bring others down. They feel they have no worth, so therefore they have to diminish others. Poor choices. It says when we make poor choices, we suffer the consequences. It can be hard to look down and see others who seem to have it together. If someone is trying to bring you down in this regard, reach out and ask them how you can help them. I feel like that's a little shady. But then it says, are they stuck in their own failures? And this is one I think is good for the conversation. Because it says sometimes people get caught up in their own failures, therefore they do not want to see others succeed. And feeling this way, they feel that they have to discourage everyone around them. But on a positive note, well, it's not really positive, but I think it's more so kind of like, well, I failed at it. I don't want you to go through what I went through. So maybe they, in a sense, trying to be positive about it, but at the same time, it's just still not the best choice. And that's the thing, and that's the main part of this part right here, because when you making your decisions, you can't let the bad decisions of others affect your decision making.
Right.
You can't let them make it to where now you stopping what you want to do because they hurting you, because you can't control what they do. You can only control what you do. Then that's also when you make the grand decision to say, let me move away from this person. Or maybe, like you said, I do suck. So let me take this into consideration and make some alterations so that I don't suck. But you have to, that's when good judgment comes in. You have to know what type of person you're dealing with.
Right.
Now, back to you, because as we've been talking about having multiple streams and doing multiple things and multiple jobs and not being just like Rome Flynn said, being boxed to just one thing. So where if somebody said, "Well, you the filmmaker, so why you over here trying to make music?" Or you the rapper, why you trying to go over here and act? Or you the chef, why you trying to go over here and be a plumber at the same time? So with you being a filmmaker and a writer, do you also see yourself as one of those filmmakers and writers who you would see acting in your own stuff, or you strictly behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm a behind the scenes guy. I have there is an idea of a story that I have where I would love to play the villain in that character. I'm that type of guy. Like, if I were to be in a film and acting a film, I would love to play a villain. Um, and that's not to say, oh, I'm in a dark place, people, or anything like that. It's acting, right? And it's fun. I'm laughing about it because it's fun. Writing and creating, it's fun. You don't have to, have came from a dark place to play a villain or something like that, right? It's just, exploring a character that would be very cool. But no, I'm the guy that, I might make the appearance. You might, oh, I was the guy with the hat at the cafe typing while the whole scene was. I would do that. Not necessarily, but yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought about it, and there have been ideas where, oh, I would want to play that character because I know, I'm thinking of this character. I feel this character. So why not me play? Just like Spike Lee or Woody Allen has done in their careers. Same type of concept of thought.
Okay. So now this is just all from me. This is no from no article. I was just talking about for those who's like, how do I make the decision to break out the box that people try to keep me in? How do I make the decision to break down the own limitations I may even put on myself? So one, have faith in God, talk to God, listen to God. He gives you hints, he gives you signs. So peep that. The second one is I said that I'm not limited by what people think about me, even if I am a little fearful. It wasn't always like this. But sometimes a little fear is good in that case, as far as
Mm-hmm.
like it'll make you be like you're the fear of the unknown. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's the fun part because that's the it's unknown, so you don't know, and
Right.
that can be a good thing too. And then the third one I said was that people attack what they don't know. So again, if it's not traditional, as we said earlier, it's different. It's innovative. I've had a lot of people question me, then I'll say like some of my ideas, and I have some friends who aren't innovators, and I'll say stuff, and they're like, "Well, don't you think that's a little head ass?" And I'll be like, "You just, and I accept them for who they are. They just don't get it. I don't think they were trying
Right.
to be mean. I think in that case they were trying to be helpful, but they just don't, man, get it." And
Right.
then this one is from Valerie Moore, and I actually heard this today. And she said, "I don't allow non-productive people to talk me out of productivity."
Hmm.
I
Great.
love that because a lot of times people who not doing nothing have the most to say. And then I just thought about this from Tiffany Montgomery when she said, "I don't take influence advice from people that don't have it." So again, y'all ain't doing it, y'all can't do it, and you giving all these tips and tricks because you scared. All right, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. So now let's move into the final section for the day, and my one of the better segments or funner segments, I should say. And this is the game time.
Okay.
This game is called. I'm gonna name a few scenarios, and I want you to tell me whether or not um it's somebody that's boxed in or they breaking through. Are you ready?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Refusing to let one's wife keep them from starting a podcast.
So you're asking, are they boxed in that current situation?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're boxed in.
Only working on their book part time, but they share the idea with a friend and the friend got quiet. But they are still working on their book.
That's break. What is breakthrough?
Yeah.
Breakthrough. That's breakthrough.
Okay. This is my girl, but Sweetie quitting rapping because everyone says she sucks.
That's being boxed in.
Consistently pushing their film to different companies and finally getting picked up by one only for the film to flop.
That's a breakthrough because
Yeah.
some people say it's a flop, but there's been a whole bunch of flops that are cult classics. So
You a film guy, so before we go to the last one, do you think Pootie Tang is a flop?
no, it's not a flop.
You know it didn't make no money. I found that out a few years ago.
Yeah, but it's not a flop. It's still a cult classic. Like when you think of like you Pootie Tang, like no, it's not a that's not a flop. That's a cult classic.
And I'm guessing you feel the same way about Soul Plane.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah, like
It was too many people in that movie.
it was a lot going on. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately, look at what it did. I mean, Kevin Hart was kind of exposed in that movie. You had different things happening in that movie. I mean, yeah, it was a crazy film, but one of the one of the things that you think about with an early Kevin Hart is Soul Plane, right? I mean, so it had some type of meaning, and it was funny. I mean, again, was it Oscar worthy? Was it Coming to America funny? Or no. But does that mean that was a flop? No, a lot of movies, like I said, a lot of movies have been cult classics, and didn't do good at the box office or went straight to DVD, but people still love those movies. So
Yeah, and even with him, it kind of ties into what we said earlier because after that movie, you really didn't hear from him like that for many years, and then he just kind of came back out of nowhere. So, who was to say somebody ain't told him like, "Hey, hang it up"? And then I saw the Breakfast Club with Ashanti today, and she said before she got her big break, she was signed to two different labels. So again, what if somebody would have told them if they would have been just stayed boxed in and said maybe this ain't for me? You know what I mean? And those are two good examples, y'all. That wasn't even in the notes. Final one. Quitting your job to make more money from a remote job. Is that boxed in or breakthrough?
that's breakthrough. Let's say it's breakthrough. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Last thing for the day. So the question of challenge is: what are some ways you felt boxed in the past, and how do you plan to move out of this moving forward? As always, let me know what y'all think, and that's pretty much it. So, y'all, we literally have one more episode next week. My boy, it was a good time talking to you. Anything you want to say before you go?
Same. Hey man, thank you for having me on your platform. Greatly appreciate it. This was definitely fun. I love, just talking about the topics that you brought up. Listen, like I said, anybody out there, feeling like they can't speak, that they can't talk to somebody, there is somebody out there that you can talk to, right? Whether it's a friend, whether it's family, speak up, speak out about how you're feeling, what's going on, instead of making crazy decisions. We got too many shootings and things going on now. Again, this is America, and America loves their guns. So, look, it's not going away no time soon, but a lot of, you notice a pattern, right? If it's not, straight up racism, right? A lot of it is, oh, I was bullied or I wasn't heard or, people ignored me or, so that's mental health, right? So we really have to get on that. But again, man, shout out to you. Blackworks creators, like I said, things are coming in 2023. Shout out to the politicking podcast. I'll be on there on Wednesday. Check us out live every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Western or Pacific time. And yeah, just God bless to everybody. Wishing everybody well, especially during this holiday season. Safe travels to everybody. Again, my dude, I appreciate you for having me on, man. This was awesome.
All right, y'all. That is it. So next week, make sure y'all tune in for the final episode of season 6. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are and make your mind up. Don't let it make you.